Hidden Histories, from Shell's Nigeria to Black Wall Street. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Silent Newsroom. You know how sometimes you stumble across a weird fact or a half-remembered story and it just makes you wonder, how did I not know about this? We explore those stories, the ones history books might skip over, but that still resonate today. Today we're diving into 5 lesser-known historical events spanning different continents and centuries. That might not be on the tip of your tongue, but they definitely left their mark on the world. From environmental injustice in Nigeria to a forgotten massacre in Oklahoma, we're going deep into the archives to uncover the complexities and consequences of these events. Get ready to have your worldview expanded, maybe even challenged a bit, because sometimes the most important history lessons are the ones we learn outside the textbook. Oil, oppression, and outrage. Shell's troubling legacy in Nigeria. Picture the Niger Delta in the 1950s, a lush landscape home to diverse communities and rich in oil. Enter Shell Oil, eager to tap into this resource. At first, the promise of jobs and development seemed like a good deal, but as the decades passed, a darker side emerged. Oil spills, a common occurrence, turned waterways black and poisoned the land. Gas flaring, the burning off of excess gas, released toxins into the air, impacting people's health and livelihoods. The Ogoni people, indigenous to the region, were on the front lines of this environmental disaster. Their farms, their fishing grounds, their very way of life was under threat. Then came Ken Saro-Wiwa, a writer and activist, who gave voice to the Ogoni's plight. He accused Shell of prioritizing profit over people, of turning a blind eye to the devastation. His words resonated, sparking protests and demands for change. But the Nigerian government, with its own interest in the oil industry, cracked down hard. In 1995, Saro-Wiwa and 8 other activists were arrested on trumped-up charges and executed. The world was outraged. Shell denied responsibility, claiming it couldn't interfere with the sovereign nation's legal system. But the damage was done. The case became a symbol of corporate accountability, environmental racism, and the human cost of oil extraction. Even today, decades later, the legacy of Shell's operations in Nigeria is still being written. Clean-up efforts are slow, legal battles drag on, and the fight for justice continues. Black Wall Street, a story of prosperity, prejudice, and a massacre erased. Imagine a thriving black community in the early 20th century. Businesses booming, jazz music filling the air, a beacon of black excellence. This was Greenwood, a neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, often called Black Wall Street. Doctors, lawyers, teachers, entrepreneurs, they built a world for themselves in the face of segregation and Jim Crow laws. But their success was a double-edged sword. It bred resentment and fear among some in the white community. Then came May 31st, 1921. A young black man, Dick Rowland, was accused of assaulting a white woman in an elevator. The details were murky, the accusation likely false, but it was all it took to ignite the smoldering embers of racial hatred. On June 1st, a white mob, armed and enraged, descended upon Greenwood. They came to destroy, to punish, to erase. Homes and businesses were looted and burned, residents terrorized and murdered. For over 24 hours, Greenwood burned. Eyewitness accounts described airplanes dropping incendiary devices, machine guns firing into crowds, a scene of utter devastation. The death toll? Estimates vary, some as high as 300, but the truth was buried along with the victims. No one was ever held accountable for the massacre, no justice served. The story of Black Wall Street was silenced, erased from textbooks, minimized in official accounts. But the memory lingered, passed down through generations, a painful reminder of what was lost and the enduring legacy of racial violence in America. It's only in recent decades that the Tulsa Race Massacre, as it's now known, has been given its due recognition. Excavations are uncovering the physical scars of that day, memorials are being erected, and the fight for reparations continues. The story of Black Wall Street is a reminder that progress doesn't follow a straight line, and that the fight for justice is often a long and winding road. Chapter 3. The Great Leap Forward, a leap into famine. In the late 1950s, China, under the leadership of Mao Zedong, embarked on an ambitious plan to transform itself from an agrarian society into an industrial powerhouse. This was the Great Leap Forward, a campaign marked by both grand visions and devastating consequences. Farmers were grouped into massive communes, private land abolished in favor of collective ownership. The goal was to boost agricultural production and free up labor for industrial projects like backyard steel furnaces. Propaganda posters depicted bountiful harvests, a nation surging ahead. But the reality on the ground was far different. The government's policies, based on flawed assumptions and unrealistic targets, backfired spectacularly. Forced collectivization disrupted traditional farming practices, leading to mismanagement and lower yields. Peasants, pressured to meet quotas, exaggerated harvests, leaving little for actual consumption. Add to that widespread drought and other natural disasters, and the stage was set for catastrophe. Food shortages quickly escalated into a full-blown famine, one of the deadliest in human history. Millions starved to death, their bodies weakened by hunger, their voices silenced by a government more concerned with saving face than saving lives. The exact death toll remains a matter of debate, but estimates range from 15 to 45 million people. The Great Leap Forward, initially hailed as a triumph of socialist planning, became a byword for the perils of utopian ideology and the human cost of unchecked authoritarianism. By 1962, the policy was quietly abandoned, the government acknowledging its shortcomings. But the scars of that period, both physical and psychological, continue to shape China today. The Great Leap Forward serves as a stark reminder of the importance of pragmatism over ideology, and the need to prioritize human well-being over abstract political goals. Chapter 4. The horror, Leopold II and the rape of the Congo. Imagine a vast, resource-rich land ripe for exploitation. This was the Congo Free State in the late 19th century, but it wasn't controlled by a nation, but by one man, King Leopold II of Belgium. He presented himself as a benevolent ruler, bringing civilization to the Dark Continent. In reality, the Congo was his personal fiefdom, a source of unimaginable wealth extracted through brutality and terror. Rubber, used for everything from tires to raincoats, was in high demand, and the Congo was teeming with rubber vines. Leopold, driven by greed, established a system of forced labor, using his private army to terrorize the Congolese people. Men, women, and children were forced to work, often held hostage to ensure compliance. Those who resisted or failed to meet their quotas faced horrific punishments, hands chopped off, villages burned, public executions. The stories that emerged from the Congo were like something out of a nightmare. Massacres, mutilations, people worked to death, their bodies left to rot in the jungle. But Leopold, a master of PR, used his wealth and influence to silence critics and maintain the facade of a civilized enterprise. He even commissioned propaganda to paint himself as a benevolent ruler, bringing progress to the Congo. But the truth couldn't be hidden forever. Journalists, missionaries, and diplomats began to expose the horrors taking place in the heart of Africa. Public outrage grew, forcing even European powers to take notice. Finally, in 1908, after years of denial and obfuscation, Leopold was forced to relinquish his personal control over the Congo. The Belgian government took over, but the damage was already done. Millions of Congolese people had died, victims of forced labor, disease, and violence. The Congo Free State became a byword for colonial brutality, a stark reminder of the dark side of human nature. Chapter 5. The Heart of the Matter, Death and the Macabre statue of René de Chalon. Let's travel now to Renaissance-era France, a time of great artistic and intellectual ferment, but also a time when death was an ever-present reality. René de Chalon, a prince and military leader, died in 1547 at 25. His widow commissioned a tomb reflecting his status and the era's fascination with mortality. The statue depicted René as a decayed skeleton holding his own heart. Rumors swirled that the statue incorporated real human bones, perhaps René's own. Over time, the truth has been obscured, leaving us with more questions than answers. The legend of René de Chalon's tomb offers a glimpse into the Renaissance mindset, where life and death, art and reality, often blurred. And there you have it, 5 stories from the shadows of history, each one a reminder that the past is never truly past. It shapes our present, informs our understanding of the world, and sometimes it even holds the key to solving the problems we face today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history's hidden corners, please like, share, and subscribe to The Silent Newsroom for more untold stories. Until next time, stay curious, keep asking questions, and never stop exploring the hidden corners of our shared human story.